It's time to check your money with Michael Jennings. Mike is a wealth advisor for Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. Good morning to you, Michael.
Good morning, George, and we are certainly checking our money today.
Yes, we are, Mike. All right, so what you got going on?
Well, it's never a dull day in this world of ours. So last week you probably saw that the S&P reached 0.1% for 2025, meaning that it effectively erased the losses that we've seen since the
The
beginning of the
losses.
year.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this is a good thing for investors who did not sell out of the market for a loss. And it's even better for those who did, who bought more stock during the down market, because they have more equity now, right? But overall, these last 4 months have pretty much underscored some important things that we have to remember when it comes to investing. So that's what we're just going to do this morning is just go through a few quick things just to make sure that people have an understanding of, what they're investing in and why they're investing in it, and really what the goal is with investing. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds good to me.
All right, well, let's get into it, right? First things first, right? So investing, especially in stocks, this is a long-term game, right? Stocks have been the single greatest, financial investment for the last couple hundred years. If you look at, a chart from 160 years ago till now, stocks have, the value of stocks have consistently gone up, the further time has gone on. So, of course, there's been dips, there's been drops, there's been crashes here and there. But just like we've seen, like again with this year alone, it only takes some time until we're back where we were again, and then even reaching even further. So, what can investors do? Stay in the market. Do not make a split-second decision, a split-second call and selling your stock when the value is low, because you can only lose when you sell, right? So we have to understand realized gains and unrealized gains versus realized losses and unrealized losses, right? So as long as you are still in possession of your investment, whether it's a stock, bond, whatever the case may be, the value of it can change. It changes day by day, minute by minute, even. But you can only really truly gain more value or lose more value when you actually no longer own that investment anymore. So that is why you always hear, right? So, buy low and sell high. The classic. You've heard that before, right, George?
I've heard it. Yes.
All right, and then you practice it, even more importantly.
I've have. Although I think I've sold too much too soon in many instances.
Yes, and when people do that, you sell out of the market, especially at a loss. You will always have to gain more to get back to where you started. So, like if you lose 10%, you have to make back 11 just to get back to where you started before you even started, making more value from there. So just understand that. Number two, the market is emotional, which means that so is value, right? So if we think of what stocks are, these are portions of ownership in a company, right? But based on the way people value that company, the value of the stock can go up and it can go down. So be careful jumping into an investment just because it seems valuable now, right? So you never know what could happen today, next week, or next month. You never know what some really high up person, really important person to the world is gonna talk about and blabber out of his mouth. So you really had to understand that this is an emotional thing, so right? So if the general public loses confidence in a company, or even somebody with influence says something about a company, even if a whole sector of companies, any value can take a hit in many places, right? So you have to make sure as an investor. You look at everything from a general point of view, right? We all have our favorites, but every company has its flaws. So be aware of them and understand what you're invested in and what the risks are with that. All right. Number three, the market is time sensitive. You have to look at everything that's going on in the world, right? And what we think will happen in the future. What are we focusing on as a collective, as a society? What are some of the things that were important, right? So if you look back in the 90s, right? What was all the rage? internet, internet, the dot
Right,
com,
right.
dot com bubble.
And a lot
That
of
was a
people, made money by being there early
being there early, right? And a lot of people did, but a lot more people lost some money by
with the
investing
bust.
exactly, exactly, right. So we call that a bubble, right? When you have this sort of inflated attention on a certain thing, and it kind of builds and it builds and it builds, and eventually, some sort of factor happens, and that could pop. And you can see that happening in history, like we just mentioned with the dot-com bubble back in 2008, when a lot of companies were really, really interested in those subprime mortgages. And, we went right into a worldwide financial crisis,
Mhm.
right? So be careful. Um, be wary of concentration risk. So we've all heard, never put all of your eggs in one basket. Same thing with stocks. So if all of your money is in one specific stock or one kind of sector, like, all tech stocks or all, health company stocks, if that company or that sector takes a collective hit, then so will your portfolio. Um,
Diversified is diversified, diversified.
that's the word. That's the word. You reading my mind, George.
Okay.
Yep, especially. So, that those that value for that can take a hit more than it would if you had your eggs spread across different baskets, right?
Hmm.
I had to kind of stop myself from that. It's funny, like using sayings about eggs now with all
Right,
the
right.
all the feelings with people and their
The
eggs.
prices are down a little bit right now.
It depends on where you go, honestly.
Yeah,
It
it
always
does.
has, but
On average.
on average, we're doing all right. So like you said, George, diversify your account. Using models like or using models, so ETFs and mutual funds. So instead of investing in these singular stocks and trying to build your own portfolio, just invest in some things that are already out there. Invest in a portfolio of stocks. So instead of owning one, now you own a piece of a bunch of other stocks. Um, Equity, which is stocks, undoubtedly the largest earner of gains in your portfolio, but you have to be careful of the ratio of that, right? The more stocks you have in your portfolio, the more risk you have, because stocks, more than anything, the variation in the value is you're going to see the largest change in that day by day. Also, consider including other types of investments that make sense for you. Maybe you need a little more downside protection. So, looking at, things that offer a little bit of a buffer, or maybe you have some situation that applies to you that requires a bit more creativity in your portfolios, right? So, summing it up, you diversify. We got diversity, we got stocks, we got equity, and we got some other investments that we got to include. So diversity, equity, and inclusion. Not necessarily the demonic force that some people make it out to be. When you understand certain things and you actually take a minute to understand what it means, it makes sense in the context. So wrapping it up, what can investors do? Number one, stay in the market. Number two, don't make emotional decisions. Number three, diversify your investments and in turn, the risk that you're exposed to, right? More gains require more risk. So make sure that you understand what level of risk you can handle. And you can do that by giving your friendly neighborhood advisor a call at 315-748-5540 or giving me a quick note at michael.jennings@brackensfsn.com.
All right. Mike Jennings is a wealth advisor with Bracken's Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of LPL Financial, member SIPC. He is your friendly neighborhood advisor.